abandoned railways, power lines, pipelines, any of that kind of stuff where they make an access route through otherwise difficult to cross terrain. They're not dumb. They'll use it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and this might be a bit of a creep factor for some, maybe not listeners and subs, but I know people get creeped out when I say this, that I've seen them try to mimic building. Like, you know how people are putting up a cottage or something like that, or adding a shed to their cottage or storage. I've seen them try to do that with branches, but not, they just didn't understand you have to have square and 90-degree angles and stuff. I've seen like mimics of that. So they're watching people and they're trying to learn. They're really smart. I mean, can you imagine having no uh, formal education or whatever, and they learn by watching, and they study us. They study people at their cottages or whatever, if they're in the area, or they watch your interactions with their family or whatever. And wow, so like the hydro cut, I had to leave alone because I kept running into the hunter. So speaking of hunters, I actually went to a hunting camp after I ran into this guy on his quad. I was out hiking. I didn't initially tell him what I was doing, but oh, my phone. I didn't tell him what I was doing. Sorry, duck hunt phone. You can tell how old I am by using that. But I didn't tell him what I was doing, but he invited me in because we got struck up a chat. He had a gun on the back of his had a rifle on the back of his quad, and I followed him into his camp, and then I slowly eased into it. What, I'm a Bigfoot researcher. What? Yeah. I said, you want to see some pictures? Okay. And then after a few pictures, he said, "Oh, I'm gonna be afraid to go to the outhouse now." So I said, "I'll tell you what. When you guys are all done hunting, let me do some snooping around in here, and I'll see if I can find any on your property, because I offered to show him pictures and stuff. Or I actually had pictures made up. I've never run into him again, because he mentioned that to his other hunting buddies, and they all laughed at him. I went in there, and I was snooping around. It was winter time, like, after January, after the last black powder season. I'm not a hunter, so I don't know all the seasons. But one time on one of my return visits, he had a buddy in there, and it was one of the guys that laughed at him. And I said, "You want to see a picture of one standing 50 feet away from a hunter's blind?" Yeah, I showed him, and he said, "Oh wow, flat nose." Like, it was all you could see was his torso and head above like a 6 foot tall scrub area. And first thing he pointed out, flat nose. I said, "Yeah, like a gorilla." And I said, "See the hunting blind? He's basically like I don't know the distance, but 50 feet, and then there's cover." But they were watching the hunters hunt deer.
Okay, so just additional information about the logger in Oregon. The rock pile, I'm going to show you the original picture. He had other encounters, but I just want to pop in here. It looks like someone's been in this trail. Someone's been keeping it cut. I think hunters must be in here. I'm going to just get a little video. Oh, when I was in here once, right here, something went running back through there. And I thought it was a deer and stuff. But I'm wondering what was chasing it. Because I stood here and I was already here when it was like running from over there, and it ran that way. Okay, so Someone's made a clearing here. A weird rock pile. Right there. Let's go over to it.
Right, so here's the picture of the hunter's deer blind. To the right, there's a bit of an open area to that heavier cedar there on the right. So I'm in there and I'm filming the rock pile, and I'm like, oh wow, this is just man-made, probably because there's not a lot of rocks in the field. But at the time, as I mentioned, you couldn't tell, right? And I was in there before. This is the same general area where a big Sasquatch came up behind me, sniffed me, and then went running back into the woods. It looks different because it hacked it all down, and some of the landmarks are gone. But anyway, once I noticed this was there, then I kind of buggered off because I didn't want to be on anyone's trail cam. But I took a couple pictures, and I think I had my GoPros running, and I might tack that on at the end. I didn't see anything in it, but some people like to watch the live footage. But anyway, so here's me snooping around the rock pile.
Okay, I mentioned just an earlier clip. I was back on the trail, and something was chasing a deer through there. And when I was trying to film my Ape Canyon vid, I was taking a picture of this rock pile, which is probably done by man, obviously. It's bigger. I never came over here, bigger than I thought, but back on the trail, just looks like one hump. But that's when something came up behind me, took a big sniff, and then heavy footfalls, biped footfalls, running back through the springy grass. So pretty cool. I'll show you some pictures of the logger who watched a family digging rocks out of the ground, hunting and eating marmots.
Right, so let's get to the good stuff here. Let's have a look at this cheeky bugger. As I mentioned, I turned around, I took a picture. There's the deer blind to the left, and there's a Sasquatch right in there to the right of the deer blind. I don't know, 20 meters over. Anyway, that bugger looks about 7.5 feet tall, same size as Patty. Beautiful specimen. Look at that, with the head and the brow ridge. It's about 7.5, maybe 7.4, 7.6. Just going by my height when I'm in there. Can't go back right now. Hunting season and everything right on. Been caught a few times trespassing already this year. So anyway, pretty cool Sasquatch hanging out right beside a hunter's deer blind. And if you look closely there, you can see his ear above his brow ridge. There, you can see his gray kind of leather skinned face, his flat nose. It's pretty awesome. Shoulder, and then the rest of his torso was hidden. So pretty cool. Watching me check out the rock pile, just like the story, but it happened first.
And well, you know how you always hear the hunters. I've been hunting for 30 years. I've never seen one.
I've never seen a Bigfoot. If they were real, I would have seen one by now, because I spend at least 3 days in the woods every year, not counting the whole middle of the day when I'm not there.
The first thing you say if they're not too drunk is to say that, do you know what to look for? And, do you know actually how to hunt instead of just sitting in a tree stand waiting to blow away a deer licking at a piece of salt lick? You actually know how to get down like a soldier and go through the woods and hunt? Or do you just you think hunting is just sitting in a tree stand blowing away whatever comes to the bait? That's not hunting. That's like shooting apples in a barrel or fish in a barrel. But anyway,
that's assassination.
That's in my point of view. So, I've personally, I've been able to sneak right up on deer and almost be able to reach out and touch them before they knew I was there, except I just didn't want to get kicked in the face. Right. But anyway, going on about the hunting camp is that's where I had really an epiphany. I'll use Homer Simpson's from the movie Simpsons. An epiphany. I was in there doing research and thinking that it was almost like a dead spot because I knew they were in there. I could get really shitty pictures of them hiding behind branches and stuff like that. Nothing worth showing. And one time I was in there doing a video, and one snuck up behind me and spoke English. And I know. And at first this was groundbreaking, but it didn't speak English like we spoke English. It was a mimic of a dialogue that it was mimicking between two hunters, and it spoke both parts at the same time, really fast, really deep, and much faster than I can speak. Maybe the best rapper in the world could keep up to the speed or something like that. But it was really deep, bass, choppy English, and it spoke both dialogues at the same time, like they thought it was like all one speech, instead of like, hey, how's it going? And then you wait, and then the other guy responds. They spoke it all. This Sasquatch that snuck up behind me spoke it all at once. And I was right on the trail, 5 minutes up the trail from the hunting camp and where this happened. And I guess it was a bit of a lull area where there was thorns and a wetland area where you wouldn't go, hunters wouldn't go. And that's the approach it used to come up, get close to me and hit me with that. And I had a shitty conference recorder tucked in my pocket, and it didn't get any of it. But, because I guess it was muffled. It was muffled by my jacket. You stop paying attention to where the little thing, and I replaced that. And I got some audio of them that I sent you from the backyard and other areas, like one huffing and puffing when I got too close to a shelter. But
right, so I didn't find any prints except a little parcel over a fence, and I'm not even bother posting it. But I did find the exact same gibberish sound I heard, and I remembered the name. I looked it up, and a Udima res recording, the gibberish and the little screechy sounds, and really weird. And I'm gonna post some pictures while you listen to it. Right, so pretty creepy cool hearing that sound like straight on it, no amplification device needed. I thought I had it with this shitty little thing. But I mean, I remembered that's the exact same thing I heard at that Udima res recording, and I don't know what it means. I don't know how to decipher that. I mean, mostly that scratchy stuff and maybe some grunts in there, but obviously different order with what I heard. And then it stopped, and then I drove away. But I mean, I thought I had it. So, lesson learned: don't use those conference recorders.
That really weird, almost, I can't describe it. I think I said it almost sounds alien or something. Yeah. But it was like all scratchy kind of voices like that, and I'm like, that was actually creepier than them speaking English.
Yeah. Well, if you go by the Sierra sounds and they're having the conversations on there, they're speaking so freaking fast. Even if you knew their language, you wouldn't understand what the hell they're saying because they just talk so fast.
Yeah, what you do is you slow it down half speed if you have the ability to do that if you load it up. You just slow it down, and then you can see that it's some kind of language. That there's syntax to it and stuff like that. Speaking of that here, I'm going to throw a tip to everybody. Once I used the Sierra Sounds, sorry, Ron, but actually I spoke to Ron about this. He won't remember this. This is 7 years ago maybe. But I was listening to just Sierra Sounds and not trying to call blast it. I was just listening to it, just trying to learn a little bit just in case I got in trouble. Like I used that with that Gugwe Dogman thing. And I got a perfect mimic back of the Sierra Sounds from like 10 feet away. They mimicked it exactly and I already turned everything off. I just want to refresh. Okay, how'd they make that sound again? Just in case I get in trouble, I can try to mimic it. And then, okay, off goes the recorder and everything put away. And then the exact same, I think it was the rapid fire sequence. You know, there's a clip, I guess maybe it's his most famous clip or one of them, where in one of his CDs, he has the rapid fire where thing just lets go and it sounds like a chimp, like, you know, a couple, 3 chimps fighting or something. Yeah. And I got that exact mimic back. And I'm like, oh, wow. If anyone ever doubts that those sounds, they're real, because the Sasquatch understood what the Sasquatch in the recordings were saying, and they responded to me after playing it. So there's a big bone to researchers who want to try to get some audio. That happened to me. And so I've heard the samurai talk. I've heard the whispery, scratchery gibberish out of that, like you hear from that reservation, where the people are out standing on the roads with the recorders out pointing towards the woods when they heard those creepy sounds. And then I've heard them mimic English. So some really top highlights there. The vocalizations are really really exciting to hear.
Yeah, that's cool. I haven't gotten to hear a whole lot of that kind of stuff from them. Generally, they stay far enough away from me that I don't get to hear too much of it, but it's always really interesting when you get to hear it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's sure is something when you, I don't know, the explain the joy, and also you're shocked at first, but when they vocalize, and then like myself, I've got to experience the human mimic, the samurai talk, and then that weird scratchy, whispery stuff. So I don't know how to explain it, but that's quite exciting. But also some of the other stuff I've encountered working doing this is the Sasquatch, like I said, coming right up to me, but getting prints. And then, like I said, after the railways, I was doing that, and then I had a lot of close calls with the trains. I had to hide on trains a few times because, you know, the drivers will see you and we'll call it in. Yeah. I had some close calls doing that. So then I found this location off a quad trail that you're aware of. I called it Sasquatch Dunes.
Right.
And
we did a show on that. Yeah, we had that part on one of the shows.
Yeah, there's some clips, but we should probably do like a full show on it, because there's so much to it that I haven't been able to share. We got crappy internet, but I followed the signs off a quad trail where it had encounters before into an unused or a temporary shutdown quarry off a remote dirt road, and I started finding prints of all sizes all over the place. Little baby ones, and I brought my wife in, and she's seen the little toddler ones that were only like 2 inches long, two inches or so long, little baby feet running up an embankment, to 20-inch deep, 20-inch long ones, 2 inches deep. And I got, you're well aware of this, I got the quick video pan of a giant 17-footer that stepped out from the tree line and was standing in midday on the edge of the the west side of this gravel sand dune area, while I was on the east side waiting for casting to dry. And it stepped out, and this thing is literally like a 17-foot tall Hulk, but covered in black hair with like a gray face. And actually on its chest, you can see where its hair was thinner. So
I also remember when we did the breakdown on that video, I was watching it in slow motion, and I caught another one that was much closer to you that you hadn't even noticed before. Yeah,
they were all over there. And I remember filming it. I remember doing the pan. And then when I got to a certain area, I don't know if I got like fearful or something, but I hurried it up because I was like looking directly at this monster-sized Sasquatch. And I say monster, not that it's a monster, but I mean, my God, there's literally something that big running around the woods, and the public's not aware of it. But yeah, I at first I said 15 feet because of the Bighorn Dam sighting, and I just want to be conservative, and you know what I mean, not try to like sell the video based on the size, but I went over and I measured it, and there was a V in the tree, about 20 feet up, and it was only 2-3 feet down from that. So I changed that and went with a more accurate approach. It was about 17 or feet or so more tall. What this thing that was easily, I don't know, maybe it could have been 2 tons or something. It was a gigantic thing that just decided to step out from the woods because I went behind the trees to get more caster or to do something while I was casting a print on the other side. And it got curious of where'd I go? You know, I didn't want to miss any part of the show. And I did a pan, and this thing's right over on the other side. I have to walk by that area if I were to use the road to get back to my car, like the road into the gravel pit. And I thought originally, because it was so big, that it had to be closer. But then you know how it is. You break down the location. Okay, well, there's that maple with the broken branch at this angle, and there's that sand and pile with a boulder. And then you go, oh my God, it's way over there, and it's still that huge. And then I finally got the courage. That's that's the only other time I was ever fearful. I was going over there where King Kong lived.
Yeah,
So-
obviously why though, because that guy was freaking big. But for any of you guys that missed that episode, it's called Mega Squatch. Go check it out. We've not only got Blayne's video on there, but we talk about some other giant Sasquatch sightings that have happened on the same show. So interesting stuff. Go check that one out.
Oh yeah, and like, you know, when things like that, like, you know, the vocals, which is kind of like, hooray, you know, you could check off that on your resume that you've heard them and I've recorded them. You know, some people just, that's all they're into it for, build their Bigfoot resume. But you know, so okay, so I encountered the vocals. I encountered lots of juvies. The juvies are my most clips I got because they follow the curious. They make mistakes, but they get like a whatever age 50-year-old Sasquatch or whatever it takes, excuse me, to get that big, step out from the tree line, and you can see it's basically, yeah, it's crappy. It's a still pulled from a pan, but there was a part of the pan where I stopped and I was talking about, I think where the equipment fill up from the oil tanks or something like that, the gas diesel drums or whatever, and I got like a still video of it, and the damn thing, and I say damn, just not them, but it's just scary kind of expression. This huge hulking 17-foot Sasquatch or more watching little 6-foot, 200-pound human, unarmed human, walk around and make a big deal out of prints. And we talked about this also. You can reference it. I sent you a vid. I found something really cool in there. I found one that had about a 15, 16-inch normal size right foot, but the left foot was crippled. And his toes were all out of order and out of sequence with how long they should be. And it had a really long one toe, and the rest were all bent, and the foot was deformed more.
Oh yeah, that's one of the weirdest looking track casts I've ever seen.
Yeah, and I found 2 trackways of that. One on the west side going up, and then later on the northeast end, I found another trackway of it coming down over. It must have went up and down like a little kind of peninsula embankment. And I was snooping around there, and they came down and said, "Oh, there's that Sasquatch again." I mean, it's pretty recognizable. You see this thing with this weird claw, big toe or whatever, and then a bunch of messed up little toes, and more like a stump kind of foot or something if it's naturally deformed or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I cast it even though it was in sand. Both circumstances. One was summer, the second one, and the first one was early winter. There was light dusting of snow. And then there's actually that one, there was 3-4 other trackways going up the same hillside. And I had to take like 1-foot steps to go up and keep my balance up this hill. And then, you know, of course I'm off to the right filming everything, but these things were taking 5-6 foot strides going up this sand covered hill. You know how hard it is to walk in sand.
Yeah, we got a good picture of that. We were standing to the side of it, filming it or something, and there's this gigantic, huge imprints going up this sand dune. way further than where a human could step in order to make it something like that.
Yeah, and I think I called it Cripplefoot, and then Return of the Cripplefoot. You know, I'm into all the old history of Bigfooting, so I remembered the Cripplefoot big deal over the Cripplefoot out in, I think it was Washington State, Bossburg. Yeah. So anyway, I use that spin on it just to, because I love the history of Bigfooting and stuff like that. I study it as much as I can.
Right. So here's a stick structure I came across. Actually, it's on the other side. When I had to hide from the guys on the quads. It looks like there's a little juvie peak in the upper left there. I'll just throw that in. But anyway, back to the prints. There seemed to be a bit of a mid-tarsal break on some of them, and here's what a bear print looks like in the winter, and they're definitely not bear. Bear toes are all in a row, and there's no elongated toe like in that weird one. So that brings the question up with this toe and this weird print is that an opposed toe on the right? Is it a cripple foot? The only reason I cast it was because of the weird shape. Otherwise, I wouldn't have. And here's what gorilla feet look like and what a human foot looks like. Here's the cripple print, and you see how it has that weird bump or extra toe on the left there. So I don't know. I wanted to have it, and even though it was an old print in the sand, which doesn't leave a lot of detail unless it's really fresh, I cast it because you don't come across weird prints like this very often. And the reason I bring it up, opposable toe, or it's called hallux, is that's what gorillas have, is in the last still, and it helps support their weight. And there's a picture of the bush where thrashing was coming from, and I can see them in there. You might not be able to, but right in the center there's a, I don't know, big juvie looking at me, and they're doing their tricks. But I just wanted to include that. You can Meldrum Sasquatch Meets Science goes into great detail about their Sasquatch prints and their foot structure. And here's a quick pan. There's the juvie right there, right behind that cedar, left side of that cedar, watching me do my casting. I'll run that clip again. And there he is right there. I think that enhances it. You can see a shape on the right there on the left side of those cedars. And one more time, I guess, for people who like to look at the Bigfoot footage. But anyway, this video is mostly about the weird print with a opposed toe or a cripple foot. And I just wanted to put that out there because you don't come across this very much. Anyway, thanks for watching.
But
so that was example. I mean, if it's a normal animal, you're going to expect some of them are going to be crippled, and some of them are going to like have accidents and miss toes and stuff like that. So, I mean, if it was fake, then yeah, all the tracks would be perfect. But since they're not, and you're finding tracks with individuals that are missing toes, and having crippled feet on one of their feet or something, just more evidence that it's real.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't think anyone, even the hardcore trolls who secretly are attached to the big groups, it would just, I guess it's their job to go around and debunk everybody and try to discredit them. I didn't even get any trolling from them. I mean, you can't fake stuff like that. I mean, a cripple foot that with a 6-foot stride going up a sandy mound, and then two different trackways, and then I guess out of all those cool things, and I'll send you something on this. I guess the best thing that ever happened was when I discovered a bunch of holes surrounded by footprints. I think they're 14-inch footprints, like patty size, and handprints of Sasquatch or young Sasquatch digging holes with sticks. And I got that footage I don't have footage of them doing it. I discovered it. And you can see like handprints and stuff on the edge of the hole. And you can see where one walked by the hole that the young ones were digging with sticks. And there's a bigger general hole. And then there's the precise holes that you get from only putting like a stick or something that shape, like a copper pipe kind of thing, straight into the dirt. You know what I mean? Like a beautiful hole, like round hole, not like a rough one that you try to do with your hand. And there was a few of those. So they were using sticks like as rudimentary tools. And as great as it was to catch the big one or to find the cripple prints, I think getting footage of the aftermath of them using sticks like tools, I think that's my favorite thing about the Sasquatch dunes.
Really cool.
I found like stick structures and lots of prints. You know, prints are the best up here. They're either on moss or they're in boggy mud, right, where they're lowland areas. But more recent events was I've been starting keeping an eye on the wetland areas, and I think last summer, for instance, this might be out of order, but last summer I think I sent you a picture of this 6 or 7 foot juvie that was like literally only like 30 feet from the road and maybe 50 feet from me, kind of hunched over watching me at that pond.
Yeah.
I think I called it swamp Sasquatch or pond Sasquatch. So that was really cool. And he was there.
That was a good picture too. He was being pretty brazen because he was kind of almost right out in the open practically.
Yeah, I mean, he only had a little bit of cover. You could see his whole body. Maybe I actually went over there. There's only like one little branch going across, distorting his image. But he was about my age.
He was on the other side of the pond or that little sloop from you.
No. He was like, I could easily walk to where he was. There was no barrier. He was like just my left on the tail end of the pond that I could easily throw a rock to and hit the area that he was standing. So he was really he was actually, if you were to line him up, he was really close to my car.
Oh.
And I walked down the road to where I could get a clear shot of the pond because of other pictures I've gotten there. And he was on the left of my peripheral view, kind of like 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock kind of angle. And I was looking over to where I seen one before, and I got a picture of a bigger one before on the right side of the pond. So I never noticed him, but I took the picture because of that. And Robin was with me. She was up the road looking for prints. She went south from the car, snooping around ditches. I went north on the road to the pond to get a clear shot. And this Sasquatch, this 6, 7 foot Sasquatch, was maybe 30, 40 feet from our car and standing in relative open in the sun and like midday, letting me take a picture, or not trying to hide of me taking a picture, kind of sloped over or slouched over. And if he could have, like, if just normal walking speed of a person, he could have easily beat me back to the car. That's how close he was to our car and how close he was to me. If he decided just to walk towards a car and I left at the same time, he would have beat me to the car and could have been there waiting for me or to ambush me or whatever. But I also found 19-inch prints in the same area, going through like a little muddy area after the rains dried up. And I'll send that link to you. I think I called it 18-inch prints found.
Blayne marked it so I can see. What we got here is a small handprint. You can see fingers where it climbed up the hill like this and pulled itself up. That's why we only have a...
So a small juvie Sasquatch print, or is this,
this
one
is
of
a
your...
proto-pygmy print.
Proto-pygmy, like a hobbit?
Like a gnome.
Like a gnome? Like,
this is...
Well, like an orc kind of gnome?
An orc gnome.
Kind of those ones that, you see in people's yards, kind of gnome. I'm just messing with you. No, anyway, that's pretty cool.
This is a little native. This is a Mascoweski.
Okay.
And we do have the juvenile Bigfoot prints in this area as well.
Yeah, I've seen those, and actually, right there where that little piece of wood is, that's somewhere in here. I lifted my 16-inch out right after I spotted the 18, which Robin thinks is actually...
This one wasn't here when we were here before.
Robin thinks my 18 is actually a 20-inch print.
Alright, so these videos are on my channel, but here's that 18 20-inch print I found. It's a pretty big boy, over 12 feet running around, and the length of it extends past the tape measure there. Alright, so kind of accidentally on purpose, but as Paul Freeman said, you go fishing more often, you catch more fish, so that's how I get these pictures and sometimes video clips. But anyway, I was looking where the red circle was because I seen something there before driving by, but it was gone before I could even get out of my car. So when Robin was up the road, I snapped off a picture, and then I noticed in the picture that there's this big gorilla guy. Maybe he's about my size, standing just to the left. And man, I wish I would have noticed him. I filmed in other areas after seeing that tree branch move. But so there he is. I guess he's maybe a little bit bigger than me. I'm 6 feet, but um, he's sitting there crouching down, using some of the leaf and branch cover to distort his outline. But pretty obvious, a big black gorilla thing, bent over with his arms hanging down. He's not on all fours, just that their arms are like 60% ratio of their body, right? So pretty cool, real Sasquatch in a wetland area. There's no one driving around. We didn't see anybody for 2 hours when we were there. My follow-up was 3 hours long and not one car went by. So it's not some jerk in a ghillie suit.
So there's the V tree. Those ones aren't really in the shot. Through this gap, all this bramble, and in here. I doubt if we're going to see prints in here unless he came over here. Oh, something scuffed there. He's right in here, somewhere, standing. Probably right in that gap right there. Yeah, because that gap has a clear line of sight right there. I'll go over there. Back to the road between that tree and that bigger tree.
Right, so there's the V tree and there's the 6-7 footer, whatever he is, standing to the left. He's crouched over, so it's hard to guesstimate at his height. But there's a follow-up shot. There's the V tree on the right, and the V tree on the left there is not really in the shot. I took a couple shots. It was a little bit brighter there, so it kind of washed it out. But he was standing right in there and using that little branch as cover, standing kind of like that. But obviously, I don't have the long arms that he does. He might have been bent over a little bit more. But see that branch right to the left there? That's where he was standing behind. And there's a view back at the road where I was. You see that area kind of mid-center, a little bit left, where it's a little bit lighter yellow? That's where the road is. And then there's just another shot further up the road going back angle there. And it's all wetland marsh in there. The bugs are really bad.
Okay, hey guys, I want to show you something here. I already filmed a little clip, but I looked at it longer. Over there is where the 6-7 footer was. I caught on the pond. Everything went quiet here all of a sudden. So anyway, the geese are all gone maybe. But anyway, I want to show you something. Look at this. 16 to 17 inch print. It's hard to tell where the heel, maybe 17. And right where the tape starts there for the stride, there's a toe indent. Not castable though. So the heel's back here. Heel's right here. And then 5 and I don't know, maybe a few inches. There's the second one, there's the right. And you can see that the toe indent, grab the toe indenture, sorry. See? You see where the toe's dug in. Well, look how deep that one is. That's almost 3 inches deep, but it's not as good as the other one. And then if I just move this back a little, right there. Oh geez. If that's right, then that's 19 inches. Crap, bigger than I thought. Let's just see. Here. Pull it up a bit, the toe. Yeah. Roughly the same size, give or take, where it stepped on a bunch of sticks that it cleared. It snapped this thing and broke that. 19 inch prints. 6 foot stride almost. 5.5 in here. Hunting camps, both sides. 100 meters either way. Something with a 19-inch print walks right through the middle of them. How cool is that? Okay, so there's the approximate angle. Picture, pretty close. Maybe a little bit closer to the pond.
More
Now,
recently,
what did you film previously in the same area, this little pond?
well, I've not filmed. I've gotten pictures of a big adult at the back of the pond on the right side.
Make sure you send that along too, so we can include it. Because here we go.
Yeah. It's like I got a lot of videos. I'll send you that one. I think it was this huge adult picture of huge adult, something like that. The video title. Originally, though, I seen one standing out not far from where that 6-7 foot one was, and by the time I got out of my car, it was gone. It was out like getting a drink or standing out like where the land jets out, and that's what drew me to that area.
Charcoal gray, black hair blends in with the tree bark and the shadows and everything. But this is pretty awesome, catching a 10-foot, what I'm thinking a 10-foot adult. Like again, I found those 19-inch prints. So if you use the Patty multiplication ratio to get her height and her 14-inch prints, so that's 10 feet, and that's not allowing for the factor that a male would be bigger. So the multiplication factor comparing print size would have to be a little bit more. But anyway, so there it is watching me, and you can see, I can see where the sun's reflecting off its back, and I outlined it there, a big sloping Sasquatch with 60% arm ratio going down to its knees. Pretty awesome that I caught this guy. And what I did was I compared it to Freeman's Sasquatch, since over on World Bigfoot Radio, the first show, part 1, we talked about Freeman's 25th anniversary. But then I scaled it up just so I can compare apples to apples. But Freeman's Sasquatch is 8-footish, and mine's around 10. They're bigger up here, unlimited resources and land, right? And also that means they can hide on us with ease. They're not trapped in to a national park. But anyway, there's a beautiful 7-foot tall Sasquatch and a big female that I caught trying to hide in the grass, 10-footer probably. But anyway, there's a close-up of her. Look at the size of her sagittal crest. But anyway, go check out the Duke's show over on World Bigfoot Radio Part 2. And thanks again for watching a Bigfoot Barn Show.
But this winter, going through there, I got that. I don't know if you've seen the picture, that great picture of the. I'm going to say she's 9-foot female, and
the one ducking down in the grass, trying to dive in the grass and hide from you.
Oh well, those ones are juvie ducks in the grass, or I always call it juvie ducking in the grass or juvie peeking. Those videos are easy to find, but the picture, not the video, the picture of the 9-foot Sasquatch, that the female in this winter, the most recent that I sent you.
Yeah.
And then after, I'll get to that one in a second. Jumping ahead here, I call congratulations. It's a girl Sasquatch. I don't know. When you post it so much, you run out of ideas for titles. But after I got the picture of the bull juvie, I'm going to say juvie. They're 6 feet or under. I just consider them juvies. I went back there and I did follow-up footage, and I got footage of another one watching me do the follow-up, and it's and I pulled a still and I sent you that, and I think I put like a.
Hi everybody, Blayne Tyler coming again from the Bigfoot Barn Show. All right, so just a quick video breakdown of that picture I got of the adult in the winter across the pond. Something I noticed when I was studying it, and then ultimately comparing it to a picture of Patty. She was over there in the gap right in there. There's a log across about 3 feet height, and there she is. And I say she because when I took a closer look, she's right in there. When I took a closer look, pretty sure she's a female when you look at the body proportions compared to Patty, with her hip and buttocks size probably from childbearing. But she's right in there in that gap. You see that log how high it is off the ground? and you're gonna see like top of the bend of her knees in the picture. Well, I see it. We're actually above that. So she's bigger than Patty. She was bigger than Patty, probably around 8 feet tall. The snow at the time when I was there was over a foot to foot and a half, and who knows. So at least about an 8 foot tall female, which in itself, there she is on the right. In itself, it's pretty rare to catch a female out in the open and in winter. You can catch males or young males because they're pretty bold, but females is rare. All right, so I got a shot of mine lined up with Patty, which is probably MK Davis's work. You know how it is, copy of copy, but I'll just give him the credit. But so other than you can see the arm ratios and that on mine, especially mine, the left arm. Look how long that bicep part of the arm is. And then obviously we all know that the forearms are super long and they go down, the arms go down to almost their knees. But something I noticed with my shot that I didn't mention before, that is the size of her hips and her buttocks area, which is probably from childbearing. Now, the height thing you can't really judge because, you know, if you don't match up the picture perfectly. But we know Patty was close to 7.5 feet, and mine is at least 8 feet because she's standing towering above that log that's 3-4 feet high at the top. You can see where her knee is bent there. But anyway, so there's a little bit further shot away, a little bit less fuzzy, and it's really rare catching a female and in the winter out in the open like that. But she's not alone. She's got other ones right to the right of it. Now, most people probably not going to see them. I could play with the contrast, but the fact of the matter is they're black or dark gray against a dark gray background. So unless you have trained eyes, you're not going to be able to pick them out, and that's how I find mine. Okay, so I'm just going to include a couple pictures here, and there's a vid coming. My boy and I were out doing this follow-up, and then he thought he seen something over there by that curved tree right there. Something was standing beside it, and by the time we got our car stopped and got out and took a closer look, it was gone. Here's that clip.
There's like a protrusion on the right side. Now it's gone.
Something standing next to it, that one that's kind of curved,
Yeah.
right in there. Yeah, I've seen them back in there before.
All right, there's a not too thrilled picture. The reason that is because when I lined up where the Sasquatch were over there in an inlet over my right shoulder, it's really close to a laneway to a hunting camp, and I didn't want to alert them to my presence of snooping around and what I'm doing. They'll get all up in arms thinking of poachers on their land, taking the deer off. Anyway, I also want to mention, speaking of evidences, the easiest way to tell a difference between a Sasquatch researcher and a Bigfoot entertainer is a Sasquatch researcher has their own evidence to back up their own theories or slideshow presentation, or at least 50% of it's theirs, where a Bigfoot entertainer has to depend on everybody else's work or stats collected by reports, etc., etc. And they're usually just in it for the fame or the money. You can always tell those guys, they're always trying to sell something, but
I don't know,
Okay.
20 feet.
Congratulations, we both got that in common because they did the same damn thing to us where we had pulled one out of a piece of video and we weren't sure if it was actually a Bigfoot or a blob squatch. So we went right to where it appeared in the video to try and do some comparison shots. And while we were there doing comparison shots, we got another one in the background watching us.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you know how it is. I mean, people always wonder why I get these pictures and these clips. Is that you get a sense for when you're being watched and stuff, and when they're around. And in this case, because they weren't familiar with me and I had no relationship going with them, I didn't mind. And I had to get a clip of myself doing a reenactment so I could show people sizes. So I stuck the camera on a monopod into the dirt, and then I just filmed me kind of standing behind where the other one was, and not far away, just past me, was another one. Kind of looked like the ridge peaker one, watching me from ducking. I don't know if it was ducking down, but obviously probably would have whenever I turned its way. but it wasn't that far away watching me in the follow-up of the swamp Sasquatch, I think I called it. But you're going to have the link to that too. And I sent you pictures of that. So that's pretty cool. Getting pictures on follow-ups of follow-ups. And that's how I was keeping an area, and that's how I got the big female this winter, which is really rare catching the females. The females, once they start being moms and stuff, childbearing, they take the least amount of risks. Like the juvies, they take risks. They're careless. They're curious. The males are big and bold. Sometimes they'll step out, let you see them, let you hear them. But the females are always protecting them and their young, so they take the least amount of risks and are the most cautious. And to catch, like, it's at least 9 feet tall because there's a log going across that's 3 feet high, and her left knee is bent above it. So you got to figure her knee's around maybe just short of 4 feet, and then you got the rest of her leg and her torso and her head and shoulders and neck. So that's one big mom walking around. And the thing about it is it's only 20 yards from a road going to a hunting camp, like their private road. That's why I couldn't go after the prints, because there's still snow on the ground. It would have given away my presence. And I don't want a bunch of hunters looking for me with rifles that they think I'm in there poaching their deer. So
and they follow your prints over to where the Bigfoot prints are.
Yeah,
maybe not so much.
I've seen winter prints. I mean, they're cool to find, but there's not much detail left to cast other than the outline and a big stride. So sometimes you just have to sacrifice the print part to protect the area so that you don't get caught, and then my prints don't lead other people to their prints. So you got to tell people, that's the first thing they hit you with. Where's the prints? Well, maybe I don't want the Sasquatch to be discovered, by me leading you to them, since, you're not aware that they're only 20 yards from your hunting camp road, walking by it.
People seriously do not think sometimes. That was a question that came up with Kevin a few times. Well, why didn't you get any pictures of Glag? What part of he was trying to make sure nobody found Glag didn't you understand?
Yeah, well, he would have, see, at that age, that time, he would have had to take him in and get developed.
Mm-hmm,
there wasn't digital cameras.
And this was back when, like, normal kids didn't have freaking cameras and didn't give a crap. He was playing around on motorcycles.
Yeah, and I filmed duckers, like in real juvie Sasquatch Bigfoot caught ducking in the tree, in the grass, or in the field. That's a video. There's a couple like that on my channel where I've caught them following me, and I've just turned nonchalantly and filmed them, and then I let them off the hook and then continued walking. And just to make it part of it, this is a regular ordeal. It's not a threatening thing. I know you're there. I'm just, whatever. I march through their, or hike through their territory on purpose and lead them to an open area. But I'd sacrifice all that footage, or I've had encounters where I didn't post or didn't bother filming because it would give up the location, or, you know what I mean? It would put them at risk. So, I mean, you know how it is. There's some things you got to let slide where you just enjoy the moment of the encounter. And last fall, and I'll send you this link too, just incidentally out hiking in the highlands of Ontario, the Eastern Ontario, my wife, we were taking a break after going up the hills. I'm not in the best of shape. I was hurt there for a while. And I went out, I used to do some car footing. And I think, I sent you a clip.
That's one of my favorite videos, where you're out there by the Greasy Spoon restaurant, back up behind it, filming the Bigfoot. No, I can't even get out of the damn car. I'll just go sit in a parking lot and film Bigfoot because it's that hard.
I had trigeminal neuralgia, which is like a nerve thing going on behind my ear. But it's basically, they had to cut into my skull and deal with this. So when that happens, it sends you into a coma almost. Like, you're like an infant coming out of that when you have that kind of shock to your body. And so I had to learn to walk and everything again. So like 2 weeks later, I'm out footing in my car because I could barely walk from the car to the house. So and I filmed the Sasquatch ducking and peeking behind the restaurant. I think it's the restaurant, and there's something else to that. But anyway, the restaurant and like a gas station kind of thing, and then an adult, a light gray one, where I'm filming, gets up and walks past the clearing. And in this case, normally you can only see them from the top up because there's always cover. In this case, the gap in the trees was low, and you can see him from the hips down take a stride, big hairy legs take a stride through the gap opening. So I got that footage sitting doing some car footing out my window. Well, and here's the thing, other people were there. Other people were coming and going, in and out of the restaurant, parking, leaving the picnic tables, whatever was there. And I got this footage. Yeah, I got that footage, putting it on the camera on like a really, really short monopod, like those dollar store ones. And I just had it just barely over the window, the where you can rest your arm. I had it right there. And I knew where they were from other like kind of crappy pictures of them. Gray Sasquatch I caught in the open back in the wetland area there. And so I knew where they were, and I knew the area that they had to walk by if they wanted to go in a certain direction. And just after lots of attempts, I got the footage of duckers, and then this adult, light gray-haired adult stepping past the open area on his way to somewhere else. So that was pretty cool. And so after that, I started doing more car spotting. Car footing.
Hi everybody, I'm Blayne Toller, come to you again from the Bigfoot barn in northeastern Ontario. Alright, gas station Sasquatch. Okay, so this is a little bit more detailed breakdown about this footage I got behind the gas station. I knew they were in the area. I got a picture of one or two crossing the field. Might have wood knocks before. But it was one of those situations where, I'm still recovering, actually got a little better, and since I got this footage, and so I had to be in a kind of a stationary situation. So I went out and used the natural bait of the fumes from the burger place, and I just watched the tree line. I think I two attempts this spring, summer, maybe three. But the second time I got that little clip with the Sasquatch, and it's actually two adults. One is moving side to side, kind of tree peeking or gap peeking, sort of. It's got cover, and then there's a gap, so it looks over, looks through the gap, watches me, looks back. Another one gets up and walks through a bigger gap, and the bigger one, you can see it stride. You can see it from like lower torso down to maybe the knee. It strides through the gap, and then the key thing is, its right arm swings, and it's got a big cupped hand. Looks like a bunch of bananas or something. Carrying a banana. That's how big their hands and fingers are.
Right, so Nate over NVTV posted this, and I took a couple stills and borrowed a little clip of his footage of my footage. And there's the peaker going side to side, and then the bottom arrow shows the gap where the walker gets up and walks away, and you can see him stride and his arm swing. Okay, so I'm going to use Nate's clip of my footage there. He's got the arrows in and while the Sasquatch are moving, so that'll help people. But there's the two Sasquatch. One just walked by, and the other one's tree peeking, and the one adult that's still there, he's still moving. Look at him going side to side. Takes a quick peek, goes and hides. Takes a quick peek, goes and hides. And then I filmed to the top. I'm trying to see if I can spot other movement. And speaking of that, I was like 75 yards away or so, right? So what I seen was a light gray animal, I guess, if you just want to be skeptical, go walking by. And some people, well, how do you know it's not an animal? Well, first of all, they're about 8 feet tall. And black bears are black, right? So that eliminates that. Might be a little uphill incline there, but This is that one there. That's like 3 feet at least above the grass, which is 3 or 4 feet. So that's 7 feet. The smaller peaker, right? And then the much bigger walker strides by the big gap. And I'm just over there, back of the parking lot behind a gas station, burger place thing, and I'm just trying to nail more movement here. Seen that, so I'm trying to focus in. And I'm thinking, well, maybe, maybe if they panic, maybe I'll film something else. So, all right, so here it is a little bit slower. And I put the arrow beside my name because after the walker, you can still see the peaker going side to side. And the peaker's moving right there. I can see him right there moving above my name, about middle screen and gap. And he's moving now. The walker walks by. You can see his shaggy light gray hair because it's in the sun. Normally it might be a little bit more charcoal colored. You see his arm there, big old hand. And it's about from his waist down to his knee what I captured there. And then there's a peaker moving back and forth in the gap. Now that's probably another adult because of the height of it. And not just the height, yeah, he could be standing on a branch or something, but it's also the size of his head. His head looks much too big to be a juvie, and I guess the juvies are only juvenile up to about the height of 5 feet or 6 feet. Then once they start mating, then I guess they're considered an adult. So that one's at least my size. So that's a young adult, and then the big classic 8-foot Sasquatch walked by the gap. Now, a lot of people like to talk, well, I don't see it. Well, you know what? It's real Sasquatch. If Sasquatch is so easy to see, then everybody would have footage. Sasquatch have hollow hair, as I might have mentioned before, and then they sweat and makes their hair them even harder to spot because the sweat is greasy and it helps refract the light off their hair. They're much faster than us. They can hide better and they're strategically smarter in the woods. So, but that's not going to stop trolls from just trying to trash it because either they're jealous of my popularity or they're jealous that I got footage. So who cares what those guys think? They never use their real name. Their opinion doesn't mean much. And the breakdown guys who don't use their real name could be just trolls too for certain Bigfoot organizations. But anyway, pretty cool. Real footage of Sasquatch.
Hey, it actually works. Why not?
Well, you got to remember too. I'm not in the shape I used to be. I've had some setbacks, health, and when you have a setback, you get past 40, you have a setback health, and the weight really packs on because you're not just naturally burning it off. You're not out playing sports. You can walk all you want. Yeah, you'd have to walk 12 hours a day to keep the weight off. But anyway, that plus the surgery and stuff. So I've had to modify some of my techniques and after having some close, scary encounters with my head almost being taken off and them breathing down my neck, I decided to do a little car footing.
And still, we're successful and managed to get some video of them.